guys ready down there? Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and call this Tooele City Planning Commission meeting to order this Wednesday, November 8th, 2023, the hour 7 p.m. here at City Council Chambers. First item on our agenda is our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is our roll call. Commissioner Hammer?
Here.
Commissioner Proctor?
Here.
Commissioner Sloan?
Here.
Commissioner Robinson?
Here.
Commissioner Jensen?
Here.
Commissioner Goches?
Present.
We also have Commissioner Dunn here. Council members Manzione will excuse Council member Hanson, and staff members Hall and Agard. Number 3 on our agenda tonight is a public hearing and decision. It's a Parminder Singh PR Best Truck Driving School request a conditional use permit for the operation of a private educational facility on an 11.6 acre parcel located at Garnet Street and Atlas Way in the Industrial Zoning District. Mr. Hall.
Thank you. As you mentioned, this is a request on a site that's 11.6 acres. However, PR Best will only be operating on about 3 of those acres, according to their information that they gave to staff. The property is deep in the industrial area. You can see that on the aerial there, Garnet Street and Atlas Way. The property's in the I industrial zone. As I said, it's deep in that area. You can see those other zones here. They're all industrial zones. And there's not really there's a lot of underdeveloped land out there and some that's not quite being used a lot. This is one of those parcels. As you can see from the aerial as well, you're looking at the land from Atlas Way there, from kind of the corner up here, and on the right-hand side, you can see a kind of a 3/4 view. That slightly different colored area is right in front of you in the photograph. There's not a lot of development on the property. In fact, the roads out there are narrow. The sides of those roads are unimproved generally. Mostly what we're looking at here for the operations is a couple of trucks that would be on site. This is all according to the information that was given to us by the applicants. A couple of large trucks that would be on site for training, a couple of instructors, and maybe 10 to 14 students at any given time. Operating maybe between 10 and 4 in the afternoon, 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. So for this site to function properly, as we look at it as staff, we noted several things that ought to happen, and those are contained in the conditions. Firstly, there needs to be some kind of improvement for the parking. The roads are too narrow for people to be parking off-site, or on the street, so they need to be off the street and parked somewhere on the site. And as you can see, there's not really an improved area for that, for vehicles to be stored. The trucks are going to be stored on site, then they need to be on some kind of an approved surface. The engineer wants to see a surface that will drain properly and that won't harm groundwater. We're suggesting as staff that the applicants, in this case, work with us to create a site plan that will handle those kinds of issues. Those are all contained in the conditions, so why don't we just briefly run through those. They need to provide restroom facilities on site as well. They've talked about being able to do that. Staff was comfortable with them bringing in porta potties, honey buckets, etc. As long as that's brought in and the site is improved to the standards that the engineer is looking for drainage and for groundwater protection, then we would recommend that they be granted the conditional use to operate there. They do need to get a city business license as well, and that other site planning and that business license gives us as staff an opportunity to review those kinds of things and make sure that they're complying with the things we need out there for development. Do you have any questions for staff at this time?
Bring this back to the commission for questions or comments.
Thanks.
Yeah, Commissioner Goches?
Jared, you just indicated that there would be a couple of trucks. Does the city limit the amount or make that a part of the condition?
We would if it were necessary. 2 to 3 trucks is what's in the staff report and the site plan, and what we're asking them to do is comply with what they've suggested here. More than that, we would just need more area covered. So we can work with it as long as we can be flexible as long as they're willing to do what they need to do for those trucks to be stored. So the engineer's going to look for different standards for where those trucks are parked overnight permanently than he's going to for the parking for the students coming and going, for example.
So overnight parking is not going to be on that 3 acre?
It will. The trucks
Okay.
for training would be there permanently, and that's why the area for them to be stored would be more improved than just the parking for students. We'd be more concerned about groundwater for those areas. So if they want to increase the number of trucks they want to keep, they just have to improve more of the area. So we can deal with it there.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. This item does require a public hearing, so I'll go ahead and open the public hearing for this item on our agenda tonight. If you'd like to speak to this, please approach the podium. State your name for the record, and then write your name for the record. Seeing no one approach, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing on this item and bring it back to the commission for any other further questions or comments. All right, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion. I
Commissioner
move
Proctor?
we approve the request for conditional use permit application number P23-1180 by Perminder Singh, representing the PR Best Truck Driving School, based on the findings of fact and subject to the conditions listed in the staff report dated November 8th, 2023.
I got a motion to approve from Commissioner Proctor. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
And a second from Commissioner Robinson. Commissioner Hammer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Proctor?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloan?
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson?
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Goches?
Aye.
I am Chairman Hamilton. I also vote aye. That one passes 7-0. Moving on to the next item on our agenda is a public hearing and decision for Matt McCoy, Tooele City Fire Department, request a conditional use permit required for public use for the proposed Tooele City Fire Station Number 3 located at 145 East, 1000 North in the Regional Commercial Zoning District. Is that going to be you again, Mr. Hall?
It is, thank you. And I apologize, it's in the regional, its land use designation is regional commercial, but its zoning is actually light industrial, so I make that correction. This is an interesting site, the Tooele Fire Station Number 3. The site plan has already been approved, it's been reviewed and approved, and the elevations will show those to you tonight. This conditional use is for the use of the land as a public use as opposed to commercial use. It is 3 acres. 3 acres seems to be the order of the day. 3 acres out of 11, 3 acres solid on this one. This is where the AirMed facility is. You can see that in that aerial photo, that helipad. The zoning, as you can see, is light industrial, so again, I apologize for that mix-up. Talking about the zoning, let's go to the land use map and we'll come back and talk about zoning as well because they're kind of the components of interest this evening. The general plan's future land use map identifies it as regional commercial. And then you can see around it some areas of medium density residential, high density residential, and then lots of regional commercial. Those land use designations are laid over a lot of areas that have not been developed yet or are in development or a little underdeveloped or undeveloped yet. This site included, and all around it you can see to the west and to the north it's mostly commercial. To the east it's going to be medium density residential and higher density residential. The zoning mostly aligns with that, with a little bit of general commercial there to the east as well. So this area fits well for a public use in staff's view. The land use patterns are generally in agreement for this. This is a kind of a service use that will provide a public service that's going to be necessary as this area grows. Good to have them in close proximity. The other benefit for this kind of use in this area is, as this area continues to develop, is that the public using this property, you get a nice improvement on the property that's not been utilized yet, and the public will stay there and continue to maintain that landscaping and that parking in that area and be in use all the time. The location is good for a fire station, as we said. The north end of town continues to grow and see a lot of development, and as that continues, you're going to need those public services, and it kind of enhances that whole area. Fire station, again, has been through site planning and design review and has been approved, but these are just shots for you to see what's going on there for the new station. We have some conditions. I think I mentioned in the staff report, one of the only concerns we really have with this kind of a use would be that it does disrupt as construction happens. You can disrupt traffic. The fire station itself won't generate traffic problems, but during construction you see some of those issues. We want to make sure that the site is managed properly. That's mainly what these conditions speak to that we've recommended. So with that, we are recommending approval. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
All right, let's bring this back to the commission for questions or comments. Man, you guys are easy tonight. All right, this item also requires a public hearing. So go ahead and open the public hearing on this particular item. It is a Tooele City Fire Department request for a conditional use permit for Tooele City Fire Station Number 3. If you'll please approach the podium, state your name for the record, and then write your name for the record. Catherine might have one in the back. I don't know.
She's got me in an auto.
My name is Kalani Mascherino.
and I travel that road all the time. So I was just wondering, since we've got a light on the west side, are we putting a light on the east side? Because when all the time, 10th North is always busy, but when school's coming and going and then fire trucks are trying to cut through, is there gonna be some way, because I know like fire trucks can change the way the lights go, right?
No.
Am I making this up? Or it just happens in the movie?
Just been watching TV
Wes,
too much.
come on.
That'd
Anyway,
be nice.
I believe that they mess with the lights. So, but some way to stop the traffic so that the fire trucks, even when they're going to a parade, I don't know. It just seems like we gotta do something about the traffic coming off of First East and 10th North if we're adding just the employees coming back and forth, not to mention 100-foot fire trucks. I don't know how long they are. That's my concern. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, seeing no one else approach, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing on that particular item, and it looks like Mr. Hall might have an answer for that question.
I'm not sure if it's a full answer, and Andrew, you can tell me if I'm wrong about this, but in talking to the city engineer when we were looking at this project and things, I have heard that that is slated for a traffic light, a semaphore at First East and 1000 North. Not that that addresses completely those questions, but there's going to be a lot of, it's a point well taken. There's a lot of things that are going to happen in this area. A lot of them will bring more traffic than the fire station will, but that doesn't change the fact that First East and 10th North, or I'm going to say 10th North because of where I'm from, but 1000 North, I'll get used to it eventually. But yeah, First and 1000 North will get a semaphore eventually here. I'm not sure how soon that's supposed to happen, but we can find out.
Right
and
after
update
the second fire.
There you go. Probably. So I hope that answers that question. But
I think so.
Mr. Chair, I have one more question.
Andrew, did you have something to?
I was going to say, we are working on that design for that intersection. Paul is working on that. We're working with the adjacent landowners to get that signal in place, so it is coming.
Perfect. Commissioner Goches?
Okay, no, I don't need, I have a question now that answered.
Good.
Thank you.
I like it. Any other questions or comments? All right, I'll entertain a motion on item number 4 on our agenda tonight.
Chairman, I move we approve the request for conditional use permit, application number P23-1323 by Matt McCoy, representing Tooele City, based on the findings of fact and subject to the conditions listed in the staff report dated November 8th, 2023.
I've got a motion to approve from Commissioner Hammer. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second from Commissioner Goches. Commissioner Hammer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Proctor?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloan?
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson?
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Goches?
Aye.
I'm Chairman Hamilton. I also vote aye. That one passes 7-0. Moves us on to number 5 on our agenda here is a decision to consider request by, excuse me, Brian Carlisle for HMS Development to extend the site plan design review approval for the Slatewood Apartments, a 72-unit multifamily project on 4.79 acres located at 1201 North Franks Drive in the MR16 zoning district. Mr. Hall.
thank you. So breaking tonight's theme of 3 acres, we're at 4.79 acres for this project. The title that you just gave really kind of says it all for this project. This is a request for extension. I would just point out, this is just for reference, that's the 4.79 acres. The project was approved in December last year. It has not begun construction. You have 1 year to do that or ask for an extension. And under city code, they can ask the planning commission to consider a 6-month extension. The zoning is MR16, as you said. That's the project for anyone who doesn't remember it from last year at Christmas, basically. They are asking for the extension so they can begin construction. It's just been a bad year for development in some ways, and they're hopeful that they'll, in the next 6 months, be able to begin. If they were not able to get construction going within the next 6 months, they'll simply need to reapply if they do want to keep the project going and come back to the planning commission and ask for those same approvals, or different approvals, as the case may be. So the only 2 conditions we're recommending here would just be reminders that the extension is only for 6 months, and again, the second one, that it doesn't change those conditions of approval. Those all still stand and would be enforced.
Sounds pretty simple and easy to me. Any other questions or comments from the commission? All right, I'll entertain a motion on this one.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the requested 6-month extension of the site plan design review request for the Slatewood Apartments, application number P22-70, subject to the conditions listed in the staff report dated November 8th of 2023.
All right, I got a motion to approve from Commissioner Goches. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second from Commissioner Jensen. Commissioner Hammer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Proctor?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloan?
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson?
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Goches?
Aye.
I'm Chairman Hamilton. I also vote aye. That one passes 7-0. Moves us on to number 6 on our agenda is a discussion item, Introduction to Subdivision Process Amendments, Senate Bill 174. Looks like it'll be presented by Mr. Agard tonight.
Thank you, Chairman Hamilton. So I am pinch hitting tonight for Mr. Baker. He has become ill and has asked me to make this presentation in his behalf. So this is kind of his baby. He knows a lot more about what's going on with this than I do, so I will do my best to explain this to you and hopefully answer any questions you might have. The state of Utah, the legislature is always tinkering with the land use and development, and Senate Bill 174 requires some drastic changes to our subdivision process, namely our subdivision ordinance. And Roger has been working with me and with Paul and with Jared and Jamie, our Public Works Director, to revise our subdivision ordinance to meet the new state requirements as approved in Senate Bill 174. We have to have these done by February 1st, 2024. So they've given us about a year to put these in place, and Roger's been working on it for the last few months, and so we're hopeful to have this done by that deadline. Tonight's just a discussion item to prepare you for what's coming our way and what's coming your way and how to the changes that are going to be involved in it. So currently, we have a certain process with our subdivisions. When an application that comes in for a subdivision of land, we go through a process that is dictated and controlled by our current ordinance. Right now, when we get a preliminary subdivision plan, it goes through a staff review, and then it comes to the Planning Commission for a recommendation. And then the land use authority on a preliminary subdivision plan is the City Council. So right now, they have the final approval for all preliminary subdivisions. Part of the changes to the subdivision ordinance is the state has said, no, city councils don't do that anymore. City councils are the legislature. They establish the zoning, the laws, but a subdivision approval is administrative. And so one of the big changes in this is the city council will no longer have any review authority over subdivisions. So what does that mean in regards to our final plat? Well, right now it's still the same process. We haven't ratified these changes. But a final plat, as you know, does not come to the Planning Commission. And the city council is the land use authority, but they don't hear the final plats either. They just sign the plat. And currently, we also have the chairman of the Planning Commission sign the plats as well. And then for minor subdivisions, City Council is also the land use authority. This slide isn't quite correct on the recommending authority. The Planning Commission actually does recommend approvals or make recommendations on minor subdivisions, but this is all going away in favor of the new changes. So right now, our process is oriented in a way that the review process and all of the submittals are heavy on the preliminary. So when they submit a preliminary subdivision plan, we require all the utility plans, landscape plans, civil plans, just about everything that we need to conduct our review. So by the time we get to final plat, the design work has been done. And so that's why at this time the final plat isn't done administratively instead of coming to Planning Commission, because the preliminary plan is where all the work is done. This ordinance would propose to change that. What we're trying to do is make preliminary plans exactly that, preliminary. Basically what they will do is they will submit the documentation that shows the lot layout, where are the roads going to go, lot sizes, some of the basic information, and then we'll leave a lot of the design elements such as pipe sizes and utility locations and easements and so forth for the final plat, where they really should be. planning commission, city council really don't need to review pipe sizes and things of that nature, but the layout of the subdivision is critical. And so the new ordinance that we're working on is going to have more of a preliminary feel to it. It's going to be preliminary. It's going to be more of a conceptual review. And then the final plat, which is done by staff, will be where we get into the nuts and bolts of the subdivision. So the changes for a preliminary plan, there will no longer be a recommending authority. But the state is requiring that we have a designated land use authority. It can be an individual, it can be a member of staff. We want the Planning Commission to maintain the land use authority role. We like the work you do, and we think that having a commission to make those land use decisions is critical. And then we do have a change in our appeal authority. Previously, if somebody wanted to appeal a subdivision, they would have to go to the administrative hearing officer. The way that the state has required, we have to choose our own appeal authority. So we are proposing to recommend a committee of 3, which is chosen by the Public Works Director and the Community Development Director. That would be for preliminary plans. So you guys will still see preliminary plans, but the City Council has been pushed out of the process by the state legislature. The same, well, not the same. The final plat is more administrative, similar to the way it is now. The land use authority for a final plat will be the Community Development Director, the Public Works Director, and the City Engineer. And it'll be pretty much an administrative review, similar to what it is now. The only difference is those 3 authorities will be the ones that will be signing the Mylar. And then the minor subdivision would pretty much be the same process as the final plat. So those are some of the broad changes that are coming to the subdivision ordinance. Roger wanted to give you a heads up on that before we brought you the actual ordinance and the public hearing for review. Some big changes, but that's what's going on. If you have any questions, I can try and answer them for you.
Any questions for Mr. Agard?
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner Goches.
You mentioned, on this slide, the committee of 3. I just wondered, who are those going to be? Are they going to be staff members, members of the public, volunteers? Looks like chosen by the director and the Public Works Director, Community Development and Public Works.
Currently, it could be just about anybody that those officials would deem qualified to make a review of an appeal of a subdivision. So it could be a staff member, it could be a private engineer, it could be an architect. We wanted that flexibility in the ordinance to be able to, select somebody that would be qualified to make that review. Some subdivisions would benefit from having a civil engineer as the review authority, or some of them may have an architect. A lot of it depends on the complexities of the subdivision.
Okay. And then another question. And who do they report to? Do they report to the mayor? Do they report to community development? Who's the overseer of this appeal authority?
That's a great question, and I don't have an answer for you at this point in time.
Okay.
I wish I did.
Oh, that's fine.
But
It's in process. It's a living document moving, I'm sure.
yeah, they don't have to be city employees, so I can't say that the mayor would have authority over them. I would have to say that it'd be the ones that choose that committee. It'd be the director of the Community Development Department and the Public Works Director, but I'm not entirely sure how that plays out yet.
I think, Andrew, if I understood the explanation last year, there wasn't necessarily who do they answer to, because they are in fact an appeal authority. They're selected by staff, but they are the last rung on the ladder. There's no appeal from the appeal. So my understanding was, and the spirit of the bill was, that the buck stops there.
That sounds accurate to me. Above and beyond the influence of city staff, so they can make an impartial decision in hearing the appeal. So it's all new for us too. So we're working through this as well.
And don't be shocked if it gets tweaked again in January.
All right, any other further questions, comments?
Just a quick comment.
Yes, please.
This is a big deal for us. And I hope going forward, the people that sit on this commission take it as seriously as the legislature has. They're not doing this because the process has been working very well in most cities. Most cities it does. Some cities it does not. And this is designed to exacerbate or to stop some problems that have been exacerbated by the process. And this should streamline it. But what it does is the planning commissions need to up their game and need to be prepared to make the same decisions that the city council has been tasked with, and they're electeds, we're appointed. So we've got to raise our bar. It's as simple as that.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Excellent questions. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, good point. Thank you, Commissioner Sloan. Appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Agard. That helps us plan for the future. All right, number 7 on our agenda tonight is our city council reports.
Thank you. We also began the same discussion at the last city council meeting on the Senate bill. So it will be good conversation going the next couple months to get that taken care of.
What were your thoughts?
So we had actually
Collective
asked,
thoughts, I guess I shouldn't say
Yeah.
necessarily yours, but.
yeah, we asked the same questions, and that was the answer. Actually, they are the appeal authority, so they don't really answer to anybody because they're the appeal. And they are actually chosen, one's chosen by the city, one's chosen by the developer, and one's chosen by a neutral party. So they could be any expert in the field chosen by those 3 different parties to be the appeal. And so we'll see how it goes, and we want to do it right. And I personally, as a city council member, I have full faith in the planning commission to be that authority. So I think it will be great, which is fine.
Commissioner Wright, point of clarification, that's okay. You indicated that they'd be chosen by the city, the developer, and then who else?
A neutral.
That's one of the
And
3.
That's one of the 3 is a neutral.
Okay.
That's
and-
the
and-
minor subdivision one.
Yeah. And the final
The final
plat.
plat, thank you.
Okay, so,
And this is in state law. I mean, this is in the bill.
so you indicated developer. So is this like a one-time deal?
Yeah.
Or, okay,
Yeah.
so
it's
they're not
case by
going-
case basis. So
It's not
if,
going to be like the planning commission, the same people are going to be on the appeal board.
No.
There will be different people
Right.
to make these decisions every time.
because for instance, if you come in as a developer and you're getting your final plat review, you as a developer are different than you as a developer. You have different developments. So the appeal will be based on what that is and experts in the field based on that development. Right?
And that is interesting, just as a point, is that there was an appeal board many, many years ago. My husband sat on that. And so kind of interesting that we're going to come back to it, but then it's going to have this, group of independent, people. So thank you for clarifying.
Sure. And I'm sure there will be more clarifying as we move forward.
Okay.
And probably more clarifying after the legislative session. Because from what I've heard, there are over 500 bills already open, and this is still under discussion, so. Other than that, I don't really have a lot to report from City Council, other than we did set everything up to get the bond for the fire station number 3, so that's very exciting. And we have, like was talked about, we've really talked about the light there, and it's in the planning stages, so I think it will be sooner rather than later that we get a light there. And we also heard another presentation about some of the missing middle housing opportunities that can be had to develop within cities with partnerships with developers and such. So we've had a couple presentations on that to see what the options are that are out there.
Just as an aside, it was a great presentation.
It was.
I've seen it twice now, I think. With my day job, with their day job, missing middle means something different to us than it did to him.
Yes.
Even if everything that he talked about is implemented, we still have a missing middle
That is correct.
that's sizable. So this is one one possible solution for problems that doesn't just need one solution.
That is
So,
correct.
but it was a great presentation.
It was a great presentation, and I think anything we can do to help, with partnershipping is a good thing.
Tooele City is, this project that he was speaking, or the Switch Point project at Harris Elementary, is first of its kind.
It is.
And this is going to fill a niche that, unfortunately, that has become really prevalent in our town. And there are a lot of places around the state that are looking at that project to see how it goes and how a public-private partnership really works.
Yeah, and the Harris Community Village, they're having a ribbon cuttings in a week or so, and they're modeled after a project in St. George. It's a little bit different, but they've done a lot of research, and they've involved a lot of partners to really get the best community feel that they can for people in that type of situation, and in helping them to actually progress and get into housing and to get jobs rather than be on the streets or just be stuck where they're at.
Yeah, for us, the missing middle is where do we put our kids and grandkids?
Right. And to some degree, this company that presented and the one that presented before, the Harris Community Village is one aspect, but they're interested in building, partnerships with other developers, with municipalities to build some of those next level housing also for people like my kids who are graduate from college and have good jobs but can't afford a home, to do some things to help them get into a first home so that they can move up. So it's just conversations about that, because there's a large gap there from, I guess, homelessness to people who already have homes. There's a large gap. That's all I have.
Any questions for City Council? Great, thank you, appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, number 8 on our agenda tonight is a discussion item. It's Planning Commission public comment emails and Planning Commission training results. Mr. Agard.
Thank you, Commissioners. Our agenda and the public notices have an email that's attached to each one of them. So when we have a public hearing, the members of the public can email their comments to that specific email address, and it will come to the Planning Commission. The last public hearing that we had, it came to our attention that only 2 commissioners are receiving those emails. I believe the chair and the vice chair received those. And in talking with Chairman Hamilton, the question was asked, why is it just the chair and the vice chair receiving those emails? So we wanted to broach the subject with the commission and see if you'd all like to have a direct receipt of those PC public comment emails, or if you're comfortable with the chair and vice chair receiving those in your behalf. So if you wanted to have those, we have our IT director right here, and I'm sure he could fashion that in a way that you could receive those emails. So I just wanted to run that by you, see what you thought. If you wanted to change that, happy to comply with you on that one.
Those are the ones that you currently send to us, right?
So what happens right now is they come to me or Jared, and then we
Right.
forward them to you
Right.
guys. Sometimes we miss one. This way, it would ensure that you would automatically get them and not have to rely on staff to forward them to you.
And there wouldn't be a delay, right? We'd get them right then.
Yeah, that'd be a recipient instead of.
Yeah,
And be a
instead of
recipient
forward.
instead of a forward. It'd be much better to.
Have them directly? Is the commission in favor of
That
that?
would be
I think
mine,
if they
yes.
took the
Okay.
time to write the email, we ought to
Okay.
give them the respect to read it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have found when you forwarded it to us, a lot of times it's like right before the meeting, and I'm working and I'm getting ready to come, and so then I come and I see that there's a public comment. So I think, having it, the opportunity to read it and beforehand is
Okay.
helpful.
Okay, I'll work with the IT department to make sure that happens.
I assume you don't want us to send snarky comments back to the public, correct?
Correct,
Unless it's Kalani?
correct.
Okay.
Money only.
And then I want to talk to you a little bit about training. Each of you, all the planning commissioners, have attended more than 12 meetings this year. The trophy for the most meetings attended goes to Commissioner Jensen. He attended 18, and then Commissioner Sloan right behind at 17. Everybody else was well above 12. So you got 1 hour of training for attending 12 meetings. And then with the training that we've done, each of you, except for one, has exceeded 4 hours. And so you've met your training. The one commissioner that did not is at 3.5. And I don't know if I want to name that commissioner on the public record or not, but they just have to watch one of our past training sessions, and they'd easily accomplish that. But congratulations to each of you for being good commissioners and attending our meetings and attending the trainings, and we appreciate all the work you do. You play a vital role for our city. In the last training, I mentioned, I went over all the ordinances that the Planning Commission's involved with. So appreciate everything you do. And start thinking about training topics for next year and what you'd like to review, and be happy to set up some good training sessions for you. So any questions for me before I leave?
I think just maybe for me, the top of the list is that Senate bill.
Yes.
We need to revisit that early and often, I think.
Okay. Oh, and one other thing about the training, the city does have a training budget. And if there are conferences that you wish to attend, let me know. And I can sign you up for those, and you can get some additional training. Commissioner Sloan has taken advantage of that and attended a couple of very beneficial conferences.
They may not be beneficial to you guys.
But
I've always got something to say.
And I know that Commissioner Hamilton has utilized that in the past. He's attended some of the Utah APA conferences with me. So don't hesitate to ask if you want to attend some of those. They can be interesting. They can be redundant, but there's always some information there to be gained there. So don't hesitate to ask if one of those things piques your interest.
Can you forward those things to us when you get notice of them? Because I'm geeky enough that I'm on most of those lists anyway, but I'm sure most of the rest of these people are too smart to let that happen.
Yeah, I can do that.
I think that would be helpful for me. I don't know about the rest of you.
Yeah, it would be.
I can do that. Happy to.
I know every training I've attended, whether it's redundant or not, I take something out of it. So it's all beneficial either way you look at it. Or you talk to somebody, network, and it's always good. So attend them.
Good.
All right. Moves us on to number 9 on our agenda tonight is a review and approval of Planning Commission minutes for the meeting held on October 25th, 2023. Are there any corrections or additions? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Got a motion to approve from Commissioner Proctor. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second from Commissioner Hammer. Commissioner Hammer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Proctor?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloan?
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson? Aye. Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Goches?
Aye.
I'm Chairman Hamilton. I also vote aye. Moves us on to number 10 on our agenda. Motion to adjourn. Anybody got one?
Move to adjourn.
We are
An
adjourned.
extra half an
Thank
hour.
you.
Can we get that training in for that last person?
Yeah, we can.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.